Welcome to this is a workshop series that we are planning for you guys. So the series is essentially JavaScript for beginners. So my name is Jay. You can see my name there. I hope your students, you already have a notebook. Professor, I have one of those leather-bound notebooks to make notes. It makes me look like a real old-timey.
All right.
It's genuine leather, Professor. So
Congratulations, Jay.
I thought it looked good when I go back to university or something. So
Yes,
anyway,
yes, that's
so
true.
make sure you have a notebook with you, folks. Especially in my classes, I do provide a lot of details. Some of them not directly related to programming, but very useful to your career as well. Because whatever you're learning, it has to eventually help you make your career better, or at least make some money, either as a freelancer or as a side gig or something. That's always my goal. You don't learn for the sake of learning. I mean, yes, it's a good idea to learn for the sake of learning, but you can do that when you're old or something, like when you're retired. But now you're here means you're trying to improve your skills, and hopefully that skill will contribute to your professional career. So step number one, make sure you have a notebook, a pen, and everything, and maybe even a leather bound book if you can get it in your near your place. It's always very good to write in those pages. But mainly, my name is Jay, and I am a programmer. I used to be a software developer. I retired from that a few years ago, but since then I have gotten switched to full-time tutoring. But teaching itself, I've been doing pretty much all my life, but professionally, I've been doing it since 2012. Now, what are we doing here? Now, today, please think of this as the preparation for the upcoming session. So today, it's all about putting the foundation. So it is a little bit of talking, a lot of talking, really. I'll also show you a little bit of developer tools before the end of session. But think of it like a dinner situation. Before you sit down to have a nice meal, the first step is to set the table. Get all the chairs arranged, get all the furniture in the right place, get all the vessels, get all the food prepared and stuff like that. So today is all about getting everything ready so that before the next session you will have time to get all these things ready, so that in the future sessions when we start coding, you are ready to go. So, and also I'll be talking about why this makes sense. What is programming? What do you need? And what kind of career prospect? What kind of freelancing prospect? Now, some of you may be returning from my previous sessions. This is like my, I think this is like my third year, guys. With AIU, they keep calling me back, which I'm very grateful. Of course, thank you to also Professor Watson and the team at AIU. So those of you who have seen me before, you know that I did a long series, like some 10, 12 sessions about freelancing, which is there in your official AIU site and YouTube as well. So you make a note of my name right there, Bijayassimha space BR. You can just Google me or go to YouTube and Google me. You'll find all those videos. Okay. And you can also find me also like online, my blogs, my code. I'll talk about that as well. I have a lot of code, projects, demos, everything on my GitHub. What is GitHub? I'll talk about that as well. So make a lot of points. There'll be a Q&A session at the end as well. And of course, I'm available via email and stuff like that. So I always reply to all my students, maybe not immediately, but usually within 24 to 48 hours. We'll come to that as well. So once again, my name is Jay, and welcome to JavaScript for beginners. So here we go. Let's do this. So first thing is, what is JavaScript? Now, some of you may have some exposure to programming. Today there's not a single person who is not touched by programming. So you may already know what it is, but for those of you who are completely new, see, there is such a thing called as programming languages, my dear students. Like anything you do in software, okay, everything you use today on your smartphone, on your computers, on your browser, everything is built, everything is a software. Like Zoom, the software that you're using to talk to me, see me, hear me, and all those things, the chat messages that Watson keeps sending you, all this is happening because of software. Software is built using programming languages. So that is what makes it so important, because computers are like people. You talk to the computers. Now, let's say like right now, I am from Mysore, India. In my home, I speak a language called, oh, hold on. Let me just move this, moving to, oh, there we go. So in my home, I speak a language called Kannada. So that's the language I speak at home. But if when I'm talking to you guys, I speak in English. Now you may be speaking a different language in your home, but when you're interacting with me, when you interact with your classmates, you would be using English. So you have these languages, right? You use languages to talk to each other, talk to other people, and so on and so forth. Similarly, programming languages, it's right there. Languages, programming languages allow you to talk to computers. Programming languages is how you build software. Now there are many languages in the world, popular languages, obscure languages. So when we talk about which are the ones which are most widely used, one of them is JavaScript, which is the reason why we are doing this series of workshops on JavaScript, because it is the most popular programming language in the world. Okay, so what makes it? So, what are the other languages, in case you're curious? Like, I also work on something called as C sharp, okay, which is like not as popular as JavaScript. Maybe second or third place or something like that. You also have other languages like C, C++, and so you have Java, you have Python. Python, people hear about it a lot because of all that AI and data science and things like that. So a lot of programming languages are there. Now we are focusing on JavaScript because it is widely used. There are a lot of jobs out there for JavaScript. There's a lot of freelancing opportunities out there for JavaScript. There are a lot of teaching opportunities as well. Like, I'm a tutor, I make money teaching JavaScript. So there you go. That is the reason why we have decided. Well, I decided that this is what I want to do, and I propose this workshop idea, and this is what the AI folks said. Okay, this sounds good. Let's do it. So that is why we are doing it. So if you're wondering why, the reason is simple. JavaScript is very popular. Learning it is essentially a lifetime investment. So that is the reason why we chose it. So what is JavaScript? And so the thing about JavaScript is that it works with two other languages. So again, this is something you'll see in software. Like, just knowing one thing is never enough. You have to learn a lot of supporting things. Okay, so although the core workshop is about JavaScript, every now and then I will either show you some examples or I'll give you a reference so that you can try to learn the extra things on your own. So 90% discussion will be on JavaScript, but every now and then I will divert, discuss something related, and then come back to JavaScript. So the main thing is JavaScript primarily works with HTML and CSS. Now, what makes it so popular is because there is something called as syntax. We will talk about that in future workshops. The syntax is very, very easy to use, simple. I mean, yes, every coding tutor says this, like all programming languages are simple. So you take that line with some reservations. Unless you start coding in multiple languages, you'll not really understand what I mean by simple. So right now, you will just have to take my word for it. The next thing is, the good thing about JavaScript is that it runs in a browser. Okay, so again, what is a browser? So the browser is whatever you use to go to websites on the internet. So you might be using Google Chrome, which is what most people use these days. Or some of you might be using Firefox. That's another browser. I personally like to use multiple browsers for my work, because I work on many projects. I have a lot of coding hobbies and things like that. So I use multiple browsers. I use Chrome, I use Firefox, I use Edge. I even use a browser called Opera for some other work which I can't do with other browsers. So there you go. JavaScript runs on browsers, and browsers are everywhere. So that is another reason why JavaScript is so popular. So let's go on to the next thing. Now, when we talk about web development. See, that is what we are doing, folks. We are trying to teach you web development. There are two things. I'll jump back and forth with the slides. I don't always go in a sequence. I try to jump back and forth. So there is such a thing called as backend, and there is such a thing called as front end. So another two important things you want to make a note of. Professor, I think we should. I think there has been an option to mute people, Professor. Let me just do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please very humbly, I would like to beg you to turn.
All right. Okay, Professor, I muted everybody. Okay. Professor, are you able to hear me? Okay. All right.
Yes, very well, very
Oh,
well.
okay, okay, okay.
I
All
was
right.
about to ask participants to, let's say, if your microphone happens to be on, please turn it off because we need to pay attention to everything Professor Jay is telling us. Please, if you're not speaking at this time and you find that your microphone is on, kindly turn it off. Thank you very much. Go
There you
ahead,
go. All right,
Professor
all right.
Jay.
Yes, Professor. So, guys, when we talk about web development, that is what we are trying to teach you. There is front end technology and then there is back end technology. Now, in this series, I will mostly be focusing on the JavaScript programming language, all right, which is useful for both front end and back end. But before we go into that, you obviously need to know what is front end and what is back. So we are going to use the example of something that you use every day. All right. So let's think about email. I'm going to assume that all of you use email. So when you check your email, you like, for example, I use outlook.com. So I go to outlook.com and I get a website, or I use the outlook.com mobile app. You might be using Gmail. So in which case you go to gmail.com, or you may be using the Gmail app on your mobile phone. But when you log in, your emails will show up on your browser or on your phone, but all those emails are not actually sitting on your computer. They are not actually sitting on your mobile phone. They are actually stored somewhere in the Google server if you're using Gmail, somewhere in the Microsoft server if you're using Outlook.com. So all that information which is stored on the server, now that is back end. It's like the supporting structure where all your emails are actually stored. The front end, it is your browser where you log in to outlook.com, or the mobile app in which you actually see the email. So please try to understand this very, very important distinction. So front end and back end. Another everyday example is when you go to a restaurant, right? You go to the restaurant, restaurant is actually two parts. You have the place where you sit and eat the food, and then you have the kitchen where the food is prepared. So in my head, whenever I think of software, I always use kitchen as an example. So get used to it. I use the kitchen as an example because in both cases, you are building something, you're preparing something. Food is almost like software. You prepare it, there are ingredients, there's an algorithm, there's a logic, there are steps. So for me, in my head, there's always a lot of commonalities between software development and kitchen and food preparation, restaurant. So when you go to a restaurant, the place you sit is like the front end, because that is where you sit. It's all lights and nice chair, maybe some music if you go to an expensive restaurant, some candlelight sometimes, decorations and stuff, people in nice uniforms, taking your order and stuff like that. Now that is the front end. But the real food happens in the kitchen. That there'll be like a small door or something where you can't see what's happening. That's where inside you have the sound and noise and people cooking and cleaning and bringing things and all that. So that is the back end. So when we talk about software, web development, we talk about front end, that is like your app, like your email, or if you have an online website, that's an app. You have software these days, like you can use Microsoft Word on the browser, that is front end. But all the data, all the hard work, all the processing, like for example, last time we did some workshops on AI. I'll be talking about AI as well, because today you can't do anything without AI. So we'll be mentioning that as well. So again, when you type something for AI and you ask something for AI, all the processing of the data happens in the back end, and only the information is shown to you in your front end. So that is the main distinction, my dear students. So please remember, when we talk about software, you have front end where you show things, where people use the software, like the whole restaurant thing, where you eat the food, order the food, pay the bill. That is front end. The back end is where your actual processing of the data, the storage of the data, all those things happen in the back end. Now, the good thing is, now the reason why I mentioned this is because with JavaScript, another reason why JavaScript is so popular is that with JavaScript, you can become both a front end developer or a back end developer or both. Okay, now if you're doing both front end and back end, now that is called as a full stack developer. So there are multiple career paths you can choose. Now remember, this workshop is primarily about teaching you JavaScript programming. Okay, so we won't be having enough time. I mean, there may be time, at the end of JavaScript workshop, if the series continues, sure, I will continue on and teach you some front end development as well. But the workshop is mainly about teaching you JavaScript programming. And once you finish learning this, after the end of the series, I'll give you some advice on what if you want to be a front end developer, or why you should be a front end developer. You want to be a back end developer, why should be a back end developer. So I'll be giving you a lot of advice, not only at the end. I'll just give the advice, like, even during the session as well. That just my no I'll just give you the information on an ongoing basis. But remember this: front end, back end. Other programming languages, you can only do front end or back end. You can't do both. So that is a limitation. Like C sharp, I do a lot of C sharp tutoring. I used to do in my younger days. I used to do C sharp workshops and stuff like that. That is mainly for backend. It's primarily backend. C sharp is mainly for backend. Again, C plus plus, C programming. Again, mainly for backend. But JavaScript is kind of different in that you can do both front end and back end programming with JavaScript. So that's another reason why we chose to go with JavaScript. Like I had multiple options, what programming language to choose. But there you go. So if you learn JavaScript properly, you have a foundation. You can proceed to become either a front end or a back end developer. Now, I've told you what JavaScript is. I've told you why we chose to go with JavaScript for this workshop series. I've given you some, hopefully I've given you a reason why you should learn JavaScript, because if you become good at this, then you can either become a backend developer or a front end developer, or if you really are crazy and if you think you can handle the complications of doing both, then you can even try to become a full stack developer. So a lot of options there, my dear students. I will be talking about all these options on an ongoing basis and at the end of the workshop. So, but nevertheless, I hope I've given you some reasons. Now, why should you learn any of these things? Very simple: career, a professional goal. Or if you already have a career, you can improve your skills, switch careers. Or, as I said, I'm a freelancer. I've done a workshop. I did a series of on freelancing as well last year. So if you're trying to become a freelancer, maybe support your main job with some side income. Again, JavaScript can be your starting point. It's not the destination though. Okay, it's like you become good in English. Just being good in English won't really help you get a job, but knowing good English can make you better at your existing job. So JavaScript is like a communication language, programming language. It's a foundation. You become good in this. On top of this, you learn some other things that opens doors. Okay, that's the motivation for you to stay with me, not only today and in the ongoing sessions as well. Now, the next thing you need is, we're going to get into some practicals here. I've given you some theory. Hopefully that was interesting enough, but now we're going to get into some practical stuff, and I'll also show you some things. But before I do that, I'm just going to drink some water here, Professor Walson.
That is fine, Jay. By the way, there is one participant who is having a network issue, and that participant is asking if it would be possible for you, Jay, to drop the PDF, your PDF document on the chat box right at this time, so that she could eventually get it, since the network is on and off in her area. That's just a quick comment and request. That's just if
Oh,
you
no,
ask.
no problem, Dr. Watson. Like, do you want me to send? I can do it at the end of the session, sir, or do you want to do it now?
If you want to do it now, let's say put it, drop it on
Let
the.
me see, Professor. Let me see if there's
Okay.
an attachment option. If there is, I don't mind doing it now, Professor. Hold on.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you
there
very
is. There is file, and then everyone. Okay, there you go. Hold on. Let's see. Attach file. Okay, your computer. Okay, desktop. Okay, AIU, AIU. Okay, all right, guys, I've sent the PDF directly in the chat. So anybody who wants, you can take it, no problem. I
Super.
believe this is anyway shared with them, Professor. So, but
We
anyway, I
got
don't
it.
mind sharing it again.
We got
Yeah,
it.
okay.
We got it. It's there.
Okay,
All right.
perfect, perfect. No
Thank you
problem. Okay,
very much.
let's get back here, guys. So now that I've given you a reason why we chose this, hopefully I've given you a motivation why you should learn JavaScript, because that is what we are doing. Let's get into some of the things you will need. Now this is where, again, I'm going to remind you, make sure you have a pen and paper, because this is really important things. I expect if you have any questions, this is where you should have questions, because this is what really matters. Now, the first and the most important thing to learn programming or any programming language. So some of the advice I'm giving you will apply to you even if you are planning to learn something else. And that is, you need to have a computer. Now, I mean, obviously, many of you are thinking, obviously, you have a computer, but I've been teaching for many, many years. Professor, there's a line on the, I don't know where that came from. Uh, I didn't draw it, Professor. Let me see if I can clear that. Uh, Clear, all right. Okay, Professor, I took care of it. Okay, all right. All right. Okay. So what I was saying, guys, is now obviously you'll think you already have a computer. Now I've been teaching for like 12 plus years, and some hundreds of thousands sometimes in big auditoriums all over India and internationally as well. Now I know that everybody has a computer, but so many times you don't have a computer, or you have a computer that is like really really old. I understand there are some monetary money related limitations as well. There's not much we can do about it, but I would always insist my students, if you're about to begin programming, it is worth your time, it is worth your investment, it is worth your money to have a computer which is less than 2 years old. Okay, it's very very important you have a computer which is less than 2 years old, because web programming, like so many other things in life, they consume a lot of resources, a lot of energy, and an older computer will only frustrate you, like really really frustrate you. I'm not saying you can't learn programming in an older machine, but if you don't have any other choice, again, realities of life, I understand. But otherwise, the first thing you want to get yourself ready is to get yourself a computer, maybe borrow it or maybe buy it or take it from someone who already has it. It has to be less than 2 years. It doesn't matter which one it is. You could have a very basic, like a laptop, like a Lenovo or a Dell or HP. It doesn't matter. Any new computer or anything less than 2 years old is fine. Which brand, it doesn't matter. Whatever is the most expensive computer you can buy, for you, I don't know what is expensive. It doesn't matter. So if for you, if $300 is expensive, then go and buy a $300 computer. Again, obviously I have very expensive computers. I have so many computers. I talk about that to Dr. Watson all the time. I have too many computers. They're all very expensive. Luckily, I'm able to afford it. But don't forget, I mentioned this in previous videos. I was born very, very poor. So, so I actually really have to work hard to buy these computers, fight through the system and all that. I speak more about it in my freelancer series. It's there on YouTube. I'm not going to get into my poverty fight and all today. But that's for some other time. But what I'm trying to say is, whatever is the most expensive computer you can buy, go and get it. If you already have one, see if it's less than 2 years old. Anything more than 2 years old, you can still code, but it'll frustrate you. And you know what happens, right? It's like I always tell people, a programmer is like a police officer, the horse police officer. The police officer might be really good at his job, but if his horse is not well, he can't do his job properly. Like if he sees a robber and the police officer is like, hey, okay, horse, come on, go fast, and the horse is like coughing or something, it doesn't matter how good the police officer is. If his horse is not good, it doesn't matter. So same way, you might be a very talented, smart, hard-working individual, but if your computer is not supporting you, you will feel demotivated. Okay, something to think about. All right. But anyway, in case you have to ask your parents or your spouse or something like that, show this video. Anyway, the video is going to get recorded. Tell them I told you to get a new computer. So that way they will be convinced. So that's the first thing. Get a computer. Whatever is the most expensive computer you can buy, what you think is expensive. Okay, not what I think is expensive. You think is expensive. Okay. All right. That's the first step. Get yourself a computer. Now, once you have the computer, okay, Windows computers are preferable for coding, but if you can, again, somebody is drawing something, professor. Oh, it's gone. Okay. So Windows computers are fine. If you can afford a Mac, Macs are also perfectly fine. Or even Chromebook, that's also fine. Or if you have a tablet, that's also fine. You can code in anything, no problem. But we are going to assume for this workshop, you are on a Windows computer. But whatever I talk to you applies to other computers as well. Now, developer tools. Okay, now a developer, like any other job, it has tools. Your doctor has his tools. A cleaning guy has his tools. A postmaster has his tools. Everybody has their tools. So we developers also have our tools. The three main things you will need are VS Code. There is something called Git and GitHub, and Firefox browser. Okay, so these are the three software that you will have to install on your computer. Now, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and show you guys how it looks, and I'll also share you links. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. Dr. Watson, I'm going to share some links on the chat. Just make sure you get it as well and open them on your side of things so that it works. Okay, so guys, please go ahead and install the software before the next session. As I said, today I'm just going to talk about things, show something, but real coding we'll be doing from the next session. So let's go ahead and do that, folks. Let me come out of the full screen with the PowerPoint. Let me come out of this. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Let me, first thing is, what you want is VS Code. Now, this is where you really want to go ahead and start making some notes and everything. So this is the first step. You want to go ahead. I'm going to put this link here in the Zoom chat. Let's go. Dr. Watson will confirm if the link. Dr. Watson, just check if the links are working, Professor. That's the first link. Go ahead, click on it, make a copy of it, and remember, the note taking is not only on your notebook. You also want to take notes on your computer as well, because I'll be sharing a lot of things, guys. There is something called as a developer diary that I maintain. I will show it to you guys in the next class. How you take notes on your computer. So I'll show that as well. Okay. But yes, first step, please go ahead and take this link and download this software. It's called VS Code. It is a code editor. We'll be using this to code, obviously. Okay, so go ahead and install it on your machine before the next session. The next thing you will need is, let me go back to the PowerPoint. You will need the item number 3, which is the Firefox browser. Now, you probably already have this on your computer, but go ahead and just search for Firefox. And there you go. So just go ahead. I'm going to put this link as well. There it is. Dr. Watson, please make sure you got the link, sir, and the link is working. So there you go, my dear students. So item number 3 in the list is a Firefox browser. Now, please understand, you can use any browser. Some people like Google Chrome, some people like me, I like Firefox or Edge or whatever. It doesn't matter. But for the classes, I will be showing things on Firefox. So if you also use it, it'll be easy for you to practice along with me. And I also will be giving you a lot of homework tasks, additional links and everything. So if you want to practice and ask questions, I even have a student forum where you can ask questions as well. So it's not just during this session that you'll be talking to me. You can also interact with me on the student forum. I'll show that as well at the end of the session, I mean, in a few minutes. So anyway, so Firefox browser, VS Code for the coding, Firefox is for the browser for developer tools and all that. Now, one more thing which you need is the item number 2, Git and GitHub. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Okay. Now, this is where I see a lot of students struggling. Now, Git is going to be a very, very long topic. So again, that is something that's a little bit complex. So I will show you some of the Git things in the next session. But I do have a video. It's a very long video on how to install Git on your computer. So let me go ahead and get that for you. It's there on my YouTube channel. It's a very long video, about an hour or something, but you have to watch the entire video, and then you will have to do the steps exactly as it is in the video. So let me just get that video. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Just getting that from my YouTube channel. 1 second, please. There we go. There we go. GitHub, GitHub, GitHub. There it is, open source, and okay, there it is. All right. Okay. Professor Watson, are you able to see my screen, sir? I had paused it. Okay. All right. So, folks, this is all the GitHub videos I have made. Now, in this, I am going to go ahead and send you link after link. You have to watch all of them. They're all very long videos, but they are long for a reason. This is a complex topic. So, this is video number 1. So, go ahead. That's the first one you want to watch. And then there is a second one here. So GitHub is a little complex, so I had to make multiple videos, my dear students. So please take your time. It may even take you many hours to try those things. So there you go. Yeah, I hope you guys are copying and bookmarking it. I hope you guys know how to bookmark. Um, okay, and there you go. And if you want to, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. If there are too many links, then just go to that link, go to the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel so that you can see all the videos. But there's no pressure. I'm not trying to become a YouTuber. I don't care about the views. I'm not a YouTuber, guys. I just put it there because sometimes students ask for it. I'm not a YouTuber. It doesn't matter if you don't subscribe to me, please. You just keep the links. Anyway, so there you go. How to install Git and how to use Git. Now, there are also many things in GitHub like Markdown, branches, pull requests. I don't think I have the time to discuss all those things, guys. This is a JavaScript workshop. This is not a GitHub workshop. So I made many, many long videos. So go through it. If you have doubts, like I said, I'll show you the forum where you can ask questions. But otherwise, please take your time, go through them. And if you get stuck, ask a question on the forum and I'll reply usually within 24 to 48 hours. So that is about GitHub and Git Bash. Now, another thing I want to show you or I want to tell you is once you install all these things, before you watch the videos, please go to the website github.com. This is the most important step of all the things I told you today. This is the most important step. Please go to github.com. All right, that is me, right? This is github.com. So this is like your developer profile. Okay, so once you create an account, I'm going to send this link as well. Again, I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. If you want to, you can go to my account on GitHub and follow me, but there is no pressure whatsoever to follow me. All right, guys, I'm too old. I'm already done with my career. I'm all set. All right, but if you follow me, it'll be easy for you to find my code. That is all. All right. Anyway, so go to GitHub, create an account, and make it look like this. I've sent you a video on how to make your GitHub account look good. So try to watch it, follow the steps. So there you go. Now, why do we use GitHub, guys? This GitHub thing will come back very, very often. Okay, and the reason is very simple. Now you see this here, Professor Walton, are you able to see this one, sir? Front end for students. There you go. Guys, this is what you're going to be learning. This is what you're trying to become, a front end developer. So I put a lot of demo projects for you to see. I've also put a lot of additional information like courses. Like, look at this. This is the course that we are going to follow in this workshop. This is a course called Free Code Camp. You may have heard about it. So I'm going to put this link here as well. But like I said, if you just follow me on GitHub, all this information is there in one place. Okay. So there is another link I've sent you right now, and one more I've sent you called Front End for Students. So that is your syllabus. That is what we are going to be using in this workshop. So please remember that link, or just Google my name, or go to that link right now, create an account on GitHub, and then follow me. Okay. So now this is what we are going to be learning. Okay. And the idea is, this is where I want to tell you guys, how do you ask questions? If you are really practicing, how do you ask questions, between sessions? And if you guys want to, if I see some students showing more interest, I will even give you weekly assignments. I'll give you assignment at the end of every session, so there's more interaction between us. I'm happy to do that. I have the time. Okay, now how do you do that? Now if you go here to Front End for Students, on the top you'll see there is a button called Discussions. Okay, I'm moving my mouse here. I hope you can see that. Dr. Watson, are able to see that? So there's a word called Discussions. Okay, guys, just go to Discussions, and you'll see there's a forum here. You'll see a lot of other students who have asked me questions in the last 2 to 3 years. So if you are able to follow me, just come here whenever you're doing a step, like you're doing something in the video, you have a question, just come here, and there's a green button called New Discussion. Just click on New Discussion, and then here there are so many options. It doesn't matter which one you use, they're all the same. Just go to the one which says General. There you go. Give it a title, whatever is your doubt, and put whatever details you want to put. Okay, now if I go back to discussions, if I go back to someone, there you go. See, some student has asked me some error. Some student called Suhana. She says, "Sir, how are you? I was learning. I have a doubt," and I'll immediately see. I reply every time. Very simple. Okay, so go to my GitHub after the class. You have a doubt, open a discussion post, and I will always reply within 24 to 48 hours. I will take care of it. Okay, if I don't know the solution, I'll give you some ideas. But because we are doing something very basic, most of the time, whatever questions you have, I will have an answer, because it's pretty basic stuff we are learning here. Although I understand it may not be basic for you today, but maybe after 6 months it becomes basics for you. So this is the discussion forum. So I'm going to put this also in the chat. I know it's a lot of links, guys, but like I said, next session I'll be showing you how to maintain a a developer diary, and I'll show you how you can take all these links from the chat and store it on your GitHub. But again, like I said, everything depends on GitHub and VS Code. So today it's fine. These links I'll share with you again next sessions. And every time I teach, I'll immediately share the link anyway. But those of you who are like super serious, click on the link, bookmark it in your browser, so that before the next session starts, you are fully ready for the session. Because next session, I'm not going to waste any time. I don't think today is a waste. And what I mean to say is, next session, I'm going to jump directly into coding. Today, I'm talking a lot, waving my hand and all, making some bad jokes. But next session, we're going to jump in. There'll still be a lot of waving around and bad jokes, but there'll be a lot of coding happening as well. So these are the main things I would like you to have ready. Have ready before the next workshop. And as I mentioned, if I see some student getting in touch with me and asking a lot of doubts on the discussion forum and stuff like that, I'm completely okay to give you weekly assignments, and I'm happy to look at them. And if it makes you feel better, I can even tell you if it's good, bad, give you feedback. I'm down for all those things. So now, as I said, yeah, what are the extra things you need for learning? Okay, so like I said, I have given you the links for the YouTube channel. I've given you 5 videos. They are all about GitHub. Okay, GitHub is very complex. Okay, some of the steps are very, very lengthy. I don't know if I can spend an entire session on GitHub, but that depends. If somebody, a lot of people ask me questions like, Jay, you know what? We would like you to do a session, an entire session on GitHub. Maybe I can do that, but otherwise, every session we will be using GitHub, and I'll give you tips and things like that. Next, I also shared you the GitHub repository. The front end for students I was talking about. If I go back here, as I mentioned, this is your one-stop. Okay, it has all the things that you need to learn. I'll be using this as my syllabus for the workshop. So everything I'm going to teach you, it's already there on my GitHub. So if some of you are curious, like you want to prepare in advance and stuff like that, just go to my front end for students. And here there is the first option called algorithms. So this is the syllabus I'm using. And you know what, guys, I'll tell you, okay, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about this. So there is this website called Free Code Camp. And this is something I started using somewhere around 2020, 2021. I was looking for something which is like really standardized, like all over the world. And I found this. And I have used this to teach hundreds of students. And they all are like, they finished the learning, they got jobs and stuff like that. Really, really cool. And what I like about this is, if you do all this, you know what, if you can see I've obviously done all this. You can see the check mark. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. Okay, if you do all this, at the end of it, they actually give you like a certificate. And it might actually help you. Like, I am too old, I don't think it'll help me, but if you're just starting now, uh, you know it will definitely help you. Okay, because it's an online certification, it's free, but they won't just give it to you, though. You still have to work hard to get this. All right, and it's like 300 hours. I'm not kidding. It's a 300 hours of coding lessons. So you have to sit and do all that. So this certificate does have a value because they do make you work hard for it. But again, if you're asking, Jay, do I really have to learn for 300 hours? See, that is like a top level figure. Like, just to show off, I finished it in 10 hours because I'm so old and I'm coding for so many years. So for me, it took 10 hours. So for you, maybe it'll take 50 hours or 30 hours or maybe 100. But some people are really slow. 300 hours is like the limit or something. And I'm not saying people should not be slow, but it is what it is. We can't really judge people, but reality is reality. But anyway, so this is what I'm saying. So what my plan in this workshop series is, I'm going to use the syllabus. Out of this 300 hours worth of topics, I'm going to pick the top 10, 15% topics. You know how people say, you may have heard about this in books and all, 80% of work can be done with 20% of tools. Like in my house, I have this very big tool set. I got it as a gift for my dad for Father's Day or something. It's like a big toolkit. It has everything: the spanner, the cutting pliers, the screwdrivers. It's a very big box with all these tools. But you know what? The reality is, I've never seen my dad use most of those tools. He uses one or two of them for everything. So that's what we call the 80-20 rule. It's the same thing in programming. Okay, there are so many things in programming, so many things in JavaScript. Like on the keyboard, right? Do you use all the keys? Not really. You use maybe 5, 6 keys every day. The rest of the keys, you don't even know what they are. Like there's a key here with a flower symbol. What does that do? I don't know, but it is there, right? I mean, we never notice it. I mean, maybe you didn't notice it till I told you today. The same way in programming also, there is this thing called 20% of programming knowledge can help you build 80% of software. And that is more than enough to get your first internship, get your first job, or get your first freelance gig. So my plan is, there is 300 hours worth of content. The syllabus is online, so those who want to do it, you can go and do it. But I'm going to focus on the core 10 to 20%. That is what I plan to cover in this series of workshops, guys. Okay, but yes, those of you who are like completionists, who are like, no, Jay, that's not enough for me, I want the whole 100. Nobody's stopping you. Go ahead. The course is online. If you get stuck, I have a student community. Ask me questions and I will help you. I'm not making empty promises. Dr. Walton knows me. I always reply to all the students. I always do that. Not immediately. That's not a promise. But eventually, within 24 to 48 hours, I will reply. So those of you who are serious, spend some time on Free Code Camp. Go to the website, log into the website, start learning. Go crazy with it. Okay. That's my way of learning. Whenever I want to learn something, you know what I do? I just forget everything. Um, Sit one day and I just go ahead and start coding from morning till night, only taking a break to fall asleep and then code again in the morning. I keep coding until I finish learning something. Again, that is just my style. But anyway, coming back, guys. So there you go. That's about the free code camp thing. Like I said, GitHub repository has all the details and links. Discussion forum, I already showed you. You have a question, put it in the forum. Some people ask me coding doubts on email and LinkedIn. Again, I'm not stopping you from messaging. A lot of students from AIU message me on LinkedIn. I reply to them. They send me emails. I reply to them. But coding is different, guys. Coding. You can still email and message me. I like it. I like it when somebody emails me. I'm a teacher. I like students messaging me. But coding questions, I'm telling you, please use the GitHub discussion forum. That is the best way to ask questions, because when you ask me a question, I can see it and other students can see it as well. You never know. Some other student might jump in and give you a better answer or give you a different answer. And maybe somebody puts a question, you know the answer. Before I reply, you might reply. So that becomes like a community. It's like an AIU student kind of community. So it helps you as well, connect with other students. So anyway, so that is the GitHub discussion forum. Now I have plenty of demo projects already on the repository, but I also plan to kind of remix them just for AIU. So it's like an old car, but it's a new car with a different color or something like that. So, but I'll show you one example though. Okay, something which I plan to build at the end of the workshop, but also to give you an idea of what you can build at the end of all these series of workshops. So let me quickly go to that. So it's again, everything is online. So let me show you. So go to my account and there are many things here. You see there's something called Dr. Walson, do you see that one? Next JS for students. Yes, sir. Now, if you go to this one, guys, and scroll down, I have gone ahead and there it is, Next.js official tutorials. So there you go inside that one. And then you go here and there it is. So this is something, Vercel dashboard. 1 second, folks. Let me just go ahead and do that. 1 second. It wants me to enter a login and password, guys. I'm just gonna do that. Okay, just pause the screen for a minute. Let me just log in. Oh, it's already logged in. Oh, very good. Okay. Dr. Walson, are you able to see my screen now, sir? I've resumed the screen share. Okay, so there you go, guys. This is something you can build, something like a dashboard. When you apply for a job, the first thing they ask you is to build a dashboard. I don't know why, but I don't know. I'm not from the IT industry hiring department, So if you can build a dashboard, I think that's like a basic thing. It's like when you go to a sports or something, they'll ask you to run. If you can run, that's like a basic thing. You can do any other sport, I guess. So similarly, if you can build a dashboard, that means some things, some knowledge about coding. So you learn how to build. This is my plan, guys. At the end of the workshop, after so many sessions, after the JavaScript is over, I have a plan to give you like a short introduction to React JS and stuff like that. And then you can build a dashboard which looks something like this. See, it has like a nice, all these graphs and stuff like that. It is responsive. See, responsive means when you make it smaller and bigger, it automatically adjusts itself. And then, you have like invoices. You can search for things. If I search for Amy, there you go. There you go. Search is working. You can add stuff, like add a customer, add some amount, and then select an option, and then you click on add. So a database is connected. A lot of stuff is there. And again, there's pagination. Some of these words may be new to you, but what I'm trying to say is, if you follow along with me at the end of all these workshops, I am telling you, you will be able to build a modern dashboard software, something that you can use to show to your, when you apply for a job or apply for internship or whatever it is that you're trying to do by learning these programming skills. And like I said, this is all already ready. I'm not building this new or something. This is all there on my GitHub. So you know I can already do it, and that means I can teach you as well. So there you go, folks. This is all the introduction I wanted to give you today. All right, demo projects, open source contributions. If some of you become really, really good at coding and you want to join hands with me and improve some of my projects, then you're welcome to join hands with me. No problem whatsoever. Okay, there you go, folks. That is the main things I wanted to tell you. So today, as I said, was a lot of theory, but setting the table for the coding things, which will begin in the next workshop. And the next workshop, my plan is to start with JavaScript itself. I'm going to start talking with variables, and there's something called CodePen. I'll show you how to use CodePen. I'll show you how to run projects in VS Code. I'll show you how to use GitHub. A lot of things are coming up. But yes, before we can do all those things, you have to prepare all the things I told you to get ready. Dr. Watson, I think that is all I have for the session, sir.
Thank you. Oh man, that was really quite fulfilling. It was
I
magnificent.
chosen a heavier topic, Dr. Watson. So
I know, I know,
the last time freelancing was a little bit more, open ground, but this one is a
I
little bit
know,
heavy.
I know. Personally, anytime I'm very, very good in computer technology. I have my website, and I've done a lot using my computers, and pretty much like you, I own several computers, each of which doing something different. But every time I hear JavaScript, I get scared. Fortunately, nowadays, the coding is actually done for website designers or builders like myself. But I'm glad, Jay, that you've provided so much, despite the fact that this presentation was just an introduction, which I assume the participants understand. But within that introduction, you provided a lot of information. You even told us that we shouldn't be scared by the prospect of having to do 300 plus hours
Yes, Professor. Professor, the idea
master.
here is
Yeah,
I expect the students to watch the recording, pause it, go backwards, and
right.
resume, because
That's right.
this is a condensed topic, and all the sessions are going to be like this. So I'm really just trying to set expectations so they're emotionally and mentally ready.
Yes, that is really interesting. Awesome. Reminding you as well, students or participants, that not only is the PDF document going to be posted on your student portal, but it is right now on the chat box where Jay posted it. And along the line in this chat channel, there are plenty of other useful links that Jay has posted for us. So we have a few minutes to go. So my cherished friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is your time. If you want to bring up a question, an issue, which Jay will gladly clarify it for you. So please take advantage of those few minutes and ask whatever questions that you would like to ask. As I do not see a question as
Dr. Watson,
far.
I'll just answer some questions from the chat then, if anybody, while somebody is. Uh,
Okay, okay, okay.
so I have a question here from Robert. He is saying that he is using Linux and VS Code. Guys, as I mentioned, the JavaScript thing is universal. It
Okay.
runs on everything. So whatever you're using, so in this case, Linux and VS Code is fine, but the star, the condition supply is when you ask me questions, let's say something went wrong with the Linux, I would have no idea because I don't use a Linux machine. So I'll also, so if you have a Linux question, I won't know. If you have a coding question, obviously I'll be able to help you. So otherwise, it doesn't matter. If you're on Linux, be on Linux. If you're on Chromebook, be on Chromebook. So that's fine with me. Next question, already there with GitHub. You followed me. Excellent, excellent. That's very cool. Tor is asking me, is this only restricted to computers and Android? So again, guys, now this is something I have to be very, very, honest about it. Now I know that if I go to the App Store right now, I open my iPhone. I know there are a lot of coding apps, so I can actually do the coding on my phone. But the problem is a phone is like 5 inches. And when you're typing things, half the screen is the keyboard. So I don't
Please,
think you should
please,
code on your
people, do not turn your microphones on. Professor Jay speaking,
uh,
please, very kindly and humbly, please, I am begging you. So we shall then mute everybody because some
uh,
people. Let's remove the
I've done it, Professor.
presentations
I've
so
done
that
it.
I
I've done
can
it.
see all
I've
the
done
faces, all the
it.
mosaic
So
screens.
the Android guys, no, no, that's a big no. Please don't try to code on your mobile phone. If you have a tablet, where you can connect a keyboard and mouse, it's okay. But again, I don't think you can run VS Code on your tablet. So again, if that's the only thing you have, then it's fine. Because I'm going to be using something called Code Pen, where you can code on your tablet as well with a mouse and keyboard. Okay, not directly on the touchscreen. You can't code on the touchscreen, guys. Don't do that, please. Okay. So no Android business, no iPhone business, no tablet business. Please get a computer. It's like I said, the police officer and the horse. Please remember that story I told you. Next question. VS Code, guys, I'll be showing you next session. So today I just told you about VS Code, but from the next session, I'll show you how it looks, how to use it, how to type the code. So that'll come in the next session, folks.
I,
No
I
problem at all.
I have a question of my own, Professor J, and that can be useful to everybody else, all the attendees. Among the tools that you mentioned at the very beginning, which you said were very, very critical, the VS Codes, the Git or GitHub, but one of the tool is the Firefox browser. Now, I use all the browsers, of course, but why is it that Firefox, not Edge, not Internet Explorer, not so other browsers that are out there, why is it that Firefox is the one that you recommend?
Professor, it's a simple matter of what I got used to when I was a kid. So when
Okay.
I started coding, like in 2000, I don't know, one or two, I
Mhm.
don't think we had Google Chrome in those days, but Firefox was already there. So in India,
Uh-huh.
I got attached to it. So
I got you.
it's just a matter of convenience, Professor. There is
Got
no technical superiority or inferiority with a browser of your choice. It's more about what you're
you.
comfortable.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we close up this session, there are many, many useful links on the chat box. I strongly recommend that you grab them now because you might lose them forever. I mean, not quite forever, because if you visit Professor Jay's sites, you Google his name and you will end up where he has all these links. You still will get them. But so far, for example, the main link that Professor J just dropped off there. So please grab them before we end the session. We already run out of time. We could accommodate one or two more questions, but it is essential, please, that you get everything that is in there for you before they are gone forever. When you watch those commercials and they tell you it's now, when it's gone forever. Don't let that happen, and grab the links right now. You will be using them, like Professor Jay stated so clearly, for your lifetime. There is,
Dr. Watson, before we
yes,
wrap up, sir, there is no question. One more thing I want to add, and then we can wrap it up.
okay.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Folks, one more thing is more not about coding itself, but it is a more about the budgeting, time, and also discipline. Okay, so when you're trying to learn coding, please understand that every week you have to set aside at least 10 hours for coding. You
Mhm.
know, like if you just attend the session, I promise you, you will learn nothing. Okay, I mean, you'll have a fun time with me. Occasionally I might make you laugh and all. Okay, but if 6 months from now, if you want to build that dashboard I showed you, because I will be building it in the workshop. If you want to follow along and really be ready to apply for a job. Now, remember, I was reading an article today, Dr. Watson. It was talking about something called time, how people look at time. Like if something is happening tomorrow, you think, wow, that is so important. But if something is happening after 6 months, you think, hey, why should I worry? Let me worry about it after 6 months. Now, that is how you don't become successful. So please start focusing on what you're going to be 6 months, not tomorrow. So set aside 10 hours every week, and you will definitely be better than what you are today.